This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story?
Our guest today is one of Britain's finest writer-directors. Breaking out with Kill List, he has ventured into almost all genres, from Free Fire to Netflix hit Rebecca. We chat about the differences between his first movie to huge Jason Statham actioner The Meg 2, his love for film, and why his latest Bob Odenkirk thriller was an immediate yes. Our guest today is writer-director Ben Wheatley.
How's it going, pal?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, my wife was going, You've got something on at 6, haven't you? I'm going, yeah, it's something. I think so. I can't. Oh,
It's good, man. It's all good. We've all been there. It's all been there. Well, thanks for making it on.
yes.
Thanks. I'm a big fan. So it's great to talk to you. To go back to how it all began. Obviously, we'll know you as a writer, director. What came first? What was the first love? Getting your foot in the door in that first moment.
I think it's more just making stuff. It doesn't have to be film. So I always drew things, and I always made up stories and played with toys and made up narratives around the toys and stuff. And I think that's the beginning of it. It's like, playing with dolls basically. And then you move on from that into, I moved on to drawing my own cartoon strips. And then when I was at I guess when I was in my early teens, I started thinking about film and like, how can I do it? What's around, it's a difficult one, it's a bit old man remembers, but back then it was harder to get hold of cameras, harder to get hold of edit suites. You didn't have there was no books really about it. Obviously no internet and no YouTube. So I was very naive about it, and I didn't really understand that you even cut things. I didn't know what that was. So it's like really very slowly gathering information over time. And then ended up as my mates were all making films when I was in my late teens, like 18, 19. And I ran into people who were more like that, like the Spielberg story. They've started when they were 14 on camcorders making action movies. And those people I met then were basically the people I ended up working with for the rest of my life, pretty much. So people like Rob Hill and Andy Stark, who I still have the film company with. So and then learning off of them really is kind of, I started off editing for them and doing storyboards, and then making my own short films on the side. And then it just went on, and I was an edit assistant for a while, and then I started making ads and doing viral online stuff when the internet started. And then from 2000, I guess I ended up making a lot of ads, like 100 ads or so, and then a load of viral online stuff, and then started doing TV. And that went on for a good 3 or 4 years. And then I wrote Down Terrace with Rob, and then we made that. So that was the beginning of it, really.
Wow. And it's kind of crazy to look back at that. I mean, I guess that's like 20 years ago, and think,
Under 30 years ago, really.
30 years ago. Wow. Is that mad? Like how far you've come, and doing all these amazing movies and getting to the level that you've got to. Is this beyond the dream at the beginning? Were you ever thought you'd be sort of here today?
The temptation is to look back and say that there's a plan.
Yeah.
And that all these things it was all a cunning plan, but it's all baby steps all the way. You do stuff and something happens, and you build on that, but you never know where you're going. I don't think you can't. And so I don't think the 20-year-old me would believe what was happening now. I don't think I could explain that to him.
I feel like when Kill List came out, that film blew me away. It was just so different from anything I'd seen. And I remember thinking, who the fuck made this? And it made me follow your career from there on because it was just so new and so interesting. You know, sitting down and writing something like that, where does where does that where does that come from? What influenced you to sort of write a script like that?
Well, I made Down Terrace, which is like a crime
Mm.
film, but that at that point, like the British crime genre was not very well respected. You know, it was about the worst thing you could have made as a first time indie filmmaker. But I love crime films, so that's why I wanted to make it, and it was also reflecting the world that we knew, and it was like the culmination of a lot of filmmaking stuff that had gone on in Down Terrace with the real Down Terrace with Rob Hill's parents, who'd supported loads of mad projects that had been filmed in their house and stuff. So it seemed like a natural kind of place to start and to end that stuff. And then when we finished Down Terrace, I remember I thought I wanted to have. I wrote 3 scripts basically, and I thought I'll write a cheap one, a medium one, and an expensive one, in case anyone asks me what I want to do next. Because I didn't want to be like going, oh, I don't know, I'll go and think about it, and then 6 months goes by and you're no longer interesting to anybody because another Down Terrace has come out by someone else, and that the train has left the station, you know. So Kill List was one of those scripts. And Kill List had come about by, I was talking to Andy Stark, and he was saying, really, commercially, probably a horror film is a better bet. And I was like, okay, well, I like horror, that's fine. I'll write something really fucking scary, and we'll do that instead. Do that next. And it kind of went from there, really. But it was written really quick, you know. It was done, I think it was 2 weeks or something like that, the script.
Crazy. What is your process with writing? Do you lock in, like, as you say, you wrote that pretty quickly? Do you kind of go, right, I'm going to do this every day, all day until it's finished? Or what's the process?
I just do it until I get tired. I think I've got a process now, which is quite good, which is you break the day into half hours, or you could write for half an hour and then you get 10 minutes off. And I'd be writing music or playing video games, and the 10 minutes is it basically recharges you, and you can then just write again for half an hour. And you can do that. You can you can write a feature script in about 3 days if you do that. But the first draft, but then, you know, you've got the rewriting is really where the work is. But to break that white page problem, it's you know, you have to trick your brain into it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've tried to write scripts, and I do a similar thing where I do have those breaks because I mentally get distracted, or, you know, it's really bad to have your phone anywhere near you because you end up doom scrolling, and find that level of, I think it's impossible to do more than half an hour. You kind of end up always getting distracted no matter what.
I don't think it's that. I think you can do more than half an hour, but you just get more tired.
Yeah,
I think you need to stop before you get pissed off with it, and then you can go back to it, like back to the beginning of it, and then go again. But it's phones are the death of it. You don't want to be anywhere near that. I mean, I've got all sorts of, like, there's software you can get which just locks your screen so you can't do anything but write. But then I also, you know, I trick myself into I'll handwrite freehand, or I'll dictate, or draw comics, or I draw the faces of the characters with speech bubbles with what they're saying and things like that. And then at least it's varied, and then you keep thinking in different ways, and you can go back into it.
Wow, completely. It's one of those things that it's hard to give advice on, but do you have advice to not only writers, but, you know, people trying to get their foot in the door, writers, directors, even advice you would have given to your younger self if you could have done?
You just have to do it a lot. and it's a really boring advice because it's really unhelpful. There is no shortcut. You just write and write and write and write, and then eventually you get a little bit better at it. I think it's that I think I did 10 years of writing, getting nowhere with it. Like, I think there was like a pile of 8 or 9 features before wrote down Terrace, and an abandoned novel, and I made a feature length film before Down Terrace as well, which we kind of abandoned, which was like a improvised thing that we did 10 years before that, and then 10 years after that we made a short that was, which is on the Down Terrace disc. So it's kind of it. I think it's just being relentless is the only way to do it, and I think I'd come across a lot of people when I was younger, when they were writing, and people who were just fixated on getting agents and getting money and not doing any writing until they got money, and it's just madness. You got to just write. It doesn't really matter about any of that stuff, I don't think. And I've often written stuff and not been paid for it, and not cared, and just done it. Or done, or rich,
and then people see it, and you kind of just be,
or writing spec stuff as well, lots of spec.
yeah.
And all writing for the fun of it, and just go, I wonder what this would be like, this book adaptation would be like that I don't have the rights to, and just do it.
Yeah.
And then know you can't sell it. Just throw it away afterwards.
Just an exercise, yeah. No, sure.
Yeah, well, you've got to enjoy doing it, otherwise it's such a pain. You initially it's fun, and it's undoable because the actual volume of stuff you have to really write, and then once you get into commercial writing, it's like that's just endless rewriting and rewriting. So you have to build up that kind of thick skin and muscle for that.
Do you find that you have, I mean, because I haven't written very much, but I find it takes me a while to get in to, sitting down and actually putting pen to paper, and sometimes it can take me a week or two to just sort of be in the right headspace, and then I can feel like I can do it every day, all day, and kind of be in it. But it takes me a while to sort of, do you ever find that you have to, or you've done so much now that it's like just second nature?
Well, I think I have a lot of mistress projects that I'll start one thing and then I'll write something else, and then could write a whole thing while I'm not doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing. But I think that really helps. So because it's easier to write things that don't have a deadline.
Yeah.
And then but then it helps you feel guilty about not doing the job you're supposed to be doing, and then you go back to it and you jump about on some things, and some things just need to be left, and some things need to go in the drawer for 2 years or 5 years and then come back out again, and you reread them and go, oh, that was all right, or oh crikey, I can see a way through this now. But it's not getting too discouraged. It's not having, I think it's like not having ego in it as well. You just go on, not worry, and enjoy it in the moment, rather than, someone goes, oh, we've read it, but here is our notes and it's terrible, and you go,
Just cry yourself to sleep.
yeah, exactly, because it's going to happen a lot, so you just got to get used to it.
Yeah. I have to say that in your career, you've had such a variety of movies. I mean, just to compare sort of A Field in England and then The Meg 2, like you can't get any more diverse than that. Is there a genre or a type of film that you haven't tackled yet that you'd really like to explore? Because it kind of feels like you've dipped your toe into a lot of different things.
I think like a really expensive sci-fi movie would be fun because you control every element of the design, world building stuff. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do a big fantasy film. I'd love to do a musical, even though I've done multiple interviews where I've slagged musicals off, which was fully. I'm now
Bring that back up when you release.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be a real gotcha. Man in contradiction over 25 years of interviews. Shock. But yeah, I mean, I think I want to have a go at all of it because I love all of it. I don't know why you wouldn't. I think that's the golden age of directors, is the studio directors that were, you do 4 films a year, maybe more, and you're doing a cowboy film and a gangster film and a musical and a comedy. That must have been amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it seems a bit tricky these days to do more than a film every couple of years. It's hard to get things made and get people to pay and finance things. You mentioned there, that obviously the studio system and maybe people that you kind of looked up to when you were growing up. I hear you're a fan of like Scorsese. I mean, who isn't? Are there like filmmakers that not only that you were like, looked up to and movies you loved, but people that you would love to collaborate with as well in the future?
Don't know about filmmakers because you don't really, as a filmmaker, there's no collective noun for filmmakers. There's no, what do you call a group of directors? There's no word for it. I mean, even crows get a, but directors don't because they're solitary. They don't single at it. Yeah. So I don't know about that, but it's kind of, but I've exec produced stuff for other people, and like you say with Scorsese, exec produced Free Fire, and Edgar Wright exec Sightseers, so there is a connection there, and that can help. But I think that actor-wise, there's lots of people, lots of interesting people out there, but you can't, if you say it out loud, you put a curse on it,
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. As they say, there's no original script or original film. There's always elements from other people's things. Are there films that you've been influenced by that you watched when you were younger that you still kind of look back on and love today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most influential film I saw was a film called Project Assassin, which is a film that Rob Hill and Andy Hurst co-directed in Brighton in the 90s, and it was shot on PSP, science fiction movie, and they made it while they were on the dole for not much for no money over 3 or 4 years, and then they took it to Cannes and sold it. And it was one of the first films that got a kind of video to film transfer. No one really knows about it, but for me, it was like the complete turning point. You go, well, guys who are just in a boozer in Brighton can go and make a movie. You can do it. You don't have to have anything except, and this was before the internet as well, so that no one knew anything about anything, And I saw them do that, and it was totally inspiring. But I was still too thick to understand what they'd done. It took me another 20 years to do anything with that knowledge. But yeah, so that film is massive, to me. And and they were big fans of like Raimi and like that whole trajectory of Within the Woods and Evil Dead, and then taking that to Hollywood, and then and Raimi going Evil Dead 2, and then all the way up to Spider-Man and stuff like that. And then also that same journey is like joined by the Coen brothers, with the Coens and editing on Evil Dead, and then Raimi appearing in the Coen movie. So we were watching all that stuff and going, well, or just watching like Romero movies and going, that's George Romero was a guy who was making industrial films about people's carpet factories and stuff like that, and doing news reporting, and then decided to make a horror film. That's so much more interesting in a way, because if you like the films they've made, that's a bonus. But the story of how they made the films is as interesting as anything. So this kind of, there's a received wisdom that nobody gets anywhere unless they've got connections, and that's used as that's the thing you always hear. You go, oh, it's all on a closed shop, and it's not strictly true. It is true in some cases, but it's like there's many filmmakers that have come off their own steam.
100%. What is it that Steve Martin said? Wasn't it? be so good they can't ignore you. It's kind of that thing, isn't it? I guess it helps to have nepotism or a leg up somewhere, but if you're talented enough and you put enough, as you say, time and effort and, you know, the miles in for writing those scripts, eventually someone's gonna bite. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping anyway.
Well, nothing happened for me until I was over 30, you know, heading towards 40, because I think that's more of the problem. It's like, it's hard for people to take you seriously when you're younger, that's all.
Mm-mm.
And that's a tough pill to swallow, you know. But then subsequently, you know, I've met loads of really young directors who've done really brilliantly, and I realised it was probably just me.
I was going to say it's a double-edged sword, but maybe not for everyone. You know, some people sneak in there early on.
Now for a quick break. We'll be back to the episode shortly. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support us, get early access and exclusive content and episodes, click to join our YouTube channel and become a member now.
Please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at lifeinfilmpod. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. Life in Film has partnered with Betterhelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, Betterhelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, Betterhelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm.
We are sponsored by movieposters.com. Are you a movie fan? I presume you are. Well, at movieposters.com, you can shop for all your favourite posters in one place. The #1 source for high quality, authentic movie posters. From new releases to cult classics and 100% authentic originals. Thinking of having a browse? Well, if you see a poster that tickles your fancy, as a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off with promo code lifeinfilm10. That's promo code lifeinfilm10. So why not give it a go?
And back to the show.
Jesus.
That's not where I was aiming.
Welcome to normal.
I haven't seen your new film Normal yet. They won't let me see it, unfortunately. But it looks like an absolute banger. If you'd like to chat about that and how that came about, and obviously you've directed this, it's Bob Odenkirk. It looks mad, man. What was the story behind that?
Well, it was one of those ones that came through the agents, and they through WME, and they were kind of going, oh, you know, there's this Bob Odenkirk script, and I was like, yeah, just stop right there. That's fine. I don't care what it is. Luckily, it was something really good, but it was like I couldn't believe it. So, you know, I chatted with Bob, and then not only Bob Odenkirk, but it's Derek Kolstad who wrote John and created John Wick. So, you know, there wasn't really much of a decision-making process needed for that. And then I read the script and I loved it, and it appealed to me a lot because it's sort of a neo-Western in a way. So it's like a sheriff in a town and sorting out the trouble and all that. And I got to shoot in America or in North America, in Canada, and using that, you know, getting some real Americana, and so it was great. And then we had, I think it was a lot of the crew from Nobody. So he did like Nobody 2 back to back with this, and just rolled out that into this, and he was up.
Yeah, no, that it looks incredible, and I mean, Nobody is, when that came out, everyone was kind of like, Bob Odenkirk is an action guy, okay. And then when it was amazing, it was like kind of like Liam Neeson stepping into, you know, doing an action part. It kind of makes sense once you've seen it. You've done a lot of action before, a lot of sequences with gunplay. Was this another level up? I mean, from the scenes I've seen, it looks pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of 45 minutes of solid action after an introduction. So you used to like a drama introduction and then into solid action. I think I got hired off the back of Free Fire, really. So they were looking at that kind of action and that kind of procedural cause and effect, physics based, you know, which I love, and that kind of Warner Brothers cartoon style of stuff, which is you're very grounded in the space and you know where everything, or what's causing everything, and it's got a very strong point of view. So it was, you know, and I obviously had done the Meg since then as well, so that was a massive amount of action in that. So it was kind of bringing all those things to bear really with Normal.
Yeah, man, it looks like a lot of fun, and it kind of has that Fargo sense, you know, this small town, as you say, that there's like a slow build into the beginning and then you go into the action. I love that. I feel like a lot of films are kind of missing that these days. It goes straight in and you're kind of like, oh, we don't know anything about anyone. So I'm glad to hear that there's like a slow burn at the beginning and then you kind of get into the action. In terms of, you know, shooting out, you said you shot it out in Canada, so you're in those real conditions. It's very, very cold. You know, as we all know, filming it's long days and everything else. What was it like being out, you know, in a place like that and doing these long days filming?
It's going to get cold. It's going to get cold. And we kind of went on and it wasn't getting cold. And it was like, yeah, it's all right. I mean, I know what cold is. And then eventually towards the end of the shoot, we ended up shooting outside of Winnipeg in quite a long way out. And it got cold. The snow came in and, oh my God, I've never experienced anything like it. You know, you go out and just the hairs in your nose crystallize as you step out into it. I was like, holy shit. And you look around, and I was looking at one of the female crew members, and her eyelashes had all just frozen across the top, just like white.
Wow.
And same with my beard, all just like went solid, and your clothes start to go, and it's so cold it just freezes. It will freeze the water lines and freeze the cables break and all that kind of stuff. But literally we only shot for about 2 days like that. It was like, and then we went indoors.
Yeah, fair enough. And what with something like this, you know, action sequences and being on location, obviously you said there's stuff obviously not outside. What is in terms of like budget and length of the shoot and everything else, like we like to sort of talk about, you know, how this thing came together. Like, was it a long shoot or did you do this one quite quick?
I think it was 7 weeks or something like that. So it's like, which is the kind of an okay length for a picture. You know, what used to be the normal length of shooting in Hollywood until people started to really stretch their legs into big effects movies. So it's kind of, that was, yeah, it was a good amount of time for what we had. I mean, it was really meticulously storyboarded and planned to make sure that we got the most out of the budget. You know, and I tend to do that. I like to, you know, I make a lot of my decisions early on so that, and then test them against what we're doing rather than trying to make it on the day, because I think that is an expensive kind of indulgence.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's you know, you can get a lot more out of action definitely if you pre-plan it a lot.
That film, man, I'm dying to see it. Ben, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate this, and I'm a big fan, so I appreciate you taking the time. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, cool, man. I'm sorry I was late.
It's all good. No, don't worry. You showed up. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I was so close. I was just on the sofa like, sure, I've got to do something this afternoon.
You're having a lovely time. You're like, I need to yeah. That's all good, man. Thanks so much, and all the best with Normal. Can't wait to see it, man. I'm really pumped for it.
Cool. Thank you.
Take care, man. All the best.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode and you want to support us, get early access and exclusive content, all ad-free, click and join the Life in Film YouTube channel and become a member now. Thank you to our guest Ben, and thank you to James and the team at William Morris. As always, thank you to our sponsors, movieposters.com and BetterHelp.